Find out which guests are being featured this week. Read our network press releases and read the blog posts from your favorite hosts. Go to iradioblog.com today, powered by the Voice America Talk Radio Network.
The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Variety Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericavariety.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Crime Prevention 101 with host Susan Bartelstone. We're so happy you've joined us. Over the next hour, you'll learn the tips, tricks, and vital information that'll help you keep yourself confident and safe. Now, here's the host of Crime Prevention 101, Susan Bartelstone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Please know that I've missed you. Now, I've got some very special guests for you tonight. This one you've got to hear. On July 30th, 2007, Jeannie and Kevin McDonough were awakened at 4 a.m. by strange noises coming from their 15-year-old daughter Shay's bedroom. When they went to check on her, they discovered a hulking figure dressed in black holding a knife to their daughter's throat. A new book by Paul Leonardo, Caught in the Act, A Courageous Family's Fight to Save Their Daughter from a Serial Killer, is the story of what happened after that moment. And I can't wait for you to hear what they did. Then I'm going to be tackling the touchy subject of the reliability of eyewitness testimony, how it can be manipulated, and what can be done to make sure it's dependable. And I've got a nationally known expert on eyewitness testimony, Professor Jennifer Dysart, on the show to set the record straight on this. And we're going to be talking about the gorilla in the room that 50 people never saw. I was there, and I still don't believe it. Talk about reliability of eyewitness testimony. And I've got another great personal safety product to tell you about, the storm whistle, which is touted as the loudest whistle in the world. And, of course, we'll start off by taking a dip in the true crime blogosphere, and I'll be speaking with Bonnie Kernene from Bonnie's Blog of Crime to discuss some of the high-profile cases that everyone is buzzing about. And I really love Bonnie's blog because the posts are just so intelligent and well thought out. Well, this is Susan Bartelstone, and you're listening to Crime Prevention 101, coming to you from the always lively New York City. You know, yesterday was International Working Women's Day, and this whole month is National History Month. Well, we women have come a long way in this country, and don't call me baby, but there's a lot more to be done before we're truly equal and before it's truly safe for us. We've got to keep on keeping on, my sisters, as the saying goes, right? All right. First up, we're going to be talking about some high-profile cases floating around that blogosphere, so I want you to meet Bonnie Kernene. Now, I know I, like a lot of you Crime Prevention 101 listeners, we are addicted to true crime forums and blogs because they give us the lowdown on the murder and sex crimes and the missing persons cases that we want to know about, and also the deserving cases that don't get much publicity as well. And one of my favorites is Bonnie's Blog of Crime, hosted by Bonnie Kernene, and she's been blogging for a little over 5 years, but she's been reading and researching crime for over 30 years, a long time. Hi, Bonnie. Welcome.
Hi.
I really like your blog. It is just so thoughtful and readable.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoy it.
Tell everyone a little bit about Bonnie's Blog of Crime and what you do there.
Well, my blog is geared towards more violent crime, murder, sex crimes, and also missing people. I do high-profile cases and also not-so-high-profile cases. I also do cold cases and older cases, even back to 1900.
Wow. Really? And I know that you've got quite a nice following.
Yes.
Do you know how many are with you?
Well, on an average daily basis, it goes anywhere around 10,000.
That's very nice. Very, very nice. And I like the idea that you pick some of the cases that are not so well known, because these cases need a spotlight shined on them, and they need people actively looking, into what happened and to try and help. So I think that's really terrific. Well, I believe that all victims need to be remembered, not just the high-profile cases. Mm-hmm. And sometimes some of these high-profile cases are so high-profile that they overshadow any of the other ones that happen. And so I try to highlight as many of the others as I can. Exactly. And I kind of, do you encourage people to contact you if there's a case that's not getting publicity that maybe you could help throw a little attention on? Oh, yes. If anybody has any that they would like me to post on, I'm glad to do that. Terrific. And, one of the other things that I really like about your blog is that you have a theme of the month. And for March, it's the death penalty. And yes. I think in Texas cold cases. And I like that there are some meaty topics there. Yeah. On my main page, I list what's coming up, but I've changed that right when I'm getting ready to change for the month, so it could change at any time. Okay, well, that's what it's about. Yeah, I try to see what's kind of in the news at the time. Okay. So what case are we going to talk about tonight? Well, the one that I have blogged on the most would be the Shannon Christian and Chris Newsom murders that happened in Knoxville, Tennessee. Okay, and talk a little about that. Yeah, it was actually quite a horrific case. The two young people, Shannon Christian and Christopher Newsom, went out on a date, and they were carjacked by several others. The case turned out where it was the couple was a white couple, and those who were involved in the crime were black. Okay. So people were thinking it was very racially motivated, and I don't think it was, but there wasn't a lot of press at the beginning, not a lot of media attention, and it was an absolutely horrible case. What happened to these two young people is unthinkable. Are they alive? Did they live? I'm not familiar with this case. No. They were carjacked in the middle of the night, and they were taken to the house of the girlfriend of one of the guys who was involved. And Christopher was raped several times, and then he was taken out by the railroad tracks and put on his knees and shot execution style. Then put into a barrel, and they put his body on fire. Did they? What happened to Shannon was much worse. Oh my God! Yeah, she had a lot of sexual torture and. Pardon me? Did they catch them? Yes, there were 5 people who were convicted. One was only convicted on some on fatal carjacking federal charges. But he did get 18 years in federal prison. Oh, okay. Latalvis Cobbins, he received life without parole. George Thomas received life without parole. And then there was a female who was also involved, who was the girlfriend of Latalvis Cobbins, and she was acquitted of all the murder charges, but she was found guilty on all other charges, including rape charges. And she got 53 years in prison. But the last one was Lamarcus Davidson, and he did get the death penalty. And what makes you think that there was no racial aspect to it?
I think it's just my opinion that they were out looking for a vehicle, and it was Shannon's vehicle, and it was an SUV, and it was a really, really nice one. And I think they just realized these were two well-off young people, and they wanted the vehicle, which they drove around for a while. They also got money from their ATMs, and they're all sociopaths anyway. All of them, except for Vanessa, had been in prison previously. Mm-hmm. So they were already on their way to doing this. They had all dealt drugs. I think they had robbery charges too, but I'm not positive on all of the other ones. But all of them had criminal records that were pretty bad. So they were already on their way to doing this.
So it would have been anyone that they came across at that particular time when they were out looking for it, I guess, right?
Yeah. From what everything I've read says that. You know, if you want to find a racial aspect, people are going to find it regardless.
But there was plenty of solid evidence. There's no way to really say that these people were railroaded because of their race. There was
right. I watched all of the trials. And even Vanessa, there was a lot. There was DNA evidence, too. Plus there was evidence with cell phone tracking.
All right, good. I'm glad that they caught them as good, solid evidence, because I hate when those cases come up, and you know, sometimes there is a racial element, and either people get a sentence they don't deserve, or or guilty people get off because of those
right.
things. I'm glad they got them, and they got them solidly.
Yes, they did. I watched all the trials, and I was just disappointed that the others did not get the death penalty. Because I am a firm believer in the death penalty. So I was disappointed, but they're never going to get out.
That's second best, but it's just I think that there are certain crimes that you really do need to consider the death penalty for.
Yes.
I guess what state was this in again? Georgia, did you say?
Tennessee.
Yes,
Yeah, they are a death penalty state, and they do use it. Actually, in Illinois today just shot down the death penalty, so I was very disappointed.
Interesting.
It's the second time.
For a death penalty state, I'm surprised they didn't consider it, given the solidness of the evidence that they had. But
they did, but the jury came back with the others and gave him life without parole.
All right. Well, look, that's second best, but it's okay. Well, listen, Bonnie, that was great. We're running to the end of the segment. How can people find Bonnie's blog of crime?
Actually, it's pretty easy. If you just Google Bonnie's blog of crime or Bonnie and Crime, it comes up. If you also Google crime blog, mine is the third one in Google.
All right, Bonnie's blog of crime. Well, it was a pleasure to have you on the show, and I want you to come back again. We'll talk about some more cases, okay?
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right. So be sure to check her out, Bonnie's blog of crime. And this is Crime Prevention 101, the radio show with an optimistic perspective on a sober subject. Coming up, what would you do if you saw a man with a knife hovering over your sleeping child? Be sure to stay tuned and find out what Bonnie and Kevin McDonough did. It's an amazing story.
Stimulating talk.
Gets those synapses in your brain firing really fast.
All the time. The #1 Internet talk station where your opinion counts. VoiceAmerica.com.
Hi, this is Susan Bartelstone, host of Crime Prevention 101. And I want to tell you about My Mobile Witness, a revolutionary service that transforms your camera phone into a personal safety device. My Mobile Witness believes safety is improved when you remove anonymity from dangerous scenarios. If you're in a stalking situation, for example, if you have an order of protection against someone, or if your profession places you in situations that are potentially dangerous, I want you to check out My Mobile Witness. And you parents of college students, ask the school to check out the My Mobile Witness University program with custom-tailored options aimed at keeping both students and faculty safe. Every campus could benefit from the My Mobile Witness University service. For more information, go to mymobilewitness.com.
Get ready to change your life. Achieve your dreams, become a success story, and accomplish so much more. Tune in to Life Radio with Todd Newton. It's your open access to leading authors, experts, and trainers from the world of self-improvement, hosted by one of the world's top certified life coaches and motivational speaker, Todd Newton. Achieve the highest levels of personal development in all areas of your life. Listen to Life Radio with Todd Newton, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on the Voice America Variety Channel.
Violence, theft, drugs, graffiti, it's all part of joining a gang. In times like these, we need to protect our kids and our community from gangs. Gangs often prey on teens with low self-esteem who perform poorly in school and who seek a sense of belonging. Protect kids from gangs. Know who they're hanging out with. Encourage them to become involved in school activities. Give kids a positive alternative to gangs. To learn more, visit ncpc.org or contact your local law enforcement agency.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
Streaming live, the leader in Internet talk radio, voiceamerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
Hi, Susan Bartelstone here. And like I always tell you, at this point in the show, there's plenty of show left. So send out an IM. Start tweeting about us. Tell people to tune in because it's going to be a great show tonight. And don't forget that you can follow me on Twitter and on Facebook. Come on in, join the party. And I also want to remind you that we're coming to you live. So if you want to weigh in on the discussion, call us at 866-472-5788. And now let's meet Jeannie McDonough and hear about Caught in the Act. And just let me give you a little background. This was July 30th, 2007. Now they live in, I think it's Chelmsford. She'll correct me if I'm not right, Massachusetts. Jeannie and Kevin McDonough, their life was changed forever. This past February, the CBS News series 48 Hours featured their story, and it's the subject of a new book, Caught in the Act, A Courageous Family's Fight to Save Their Daughter from a Serial Killer. It was written by Paul Leonardo. So let's meet Jeannie McDonough and hear this story. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi, Susan. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, well, welcome. I'm delighted to have you here to tell your story. Now, as I said before, you heard noises coming from your daughter's room. You and your husband went to check, and you see this figure dressed in black holding a knife to your daughter's throat. What happened next? What did you do?
Well, he was all dressed in black and wearing a black ski mask. And he was standing over our daughter, and when Kevin opened the door, he saw this hulking figure standing over Shay with his left hand over Shay's mouth and nose, pressing down, suffocating her. Kevin said, "Who are you?" And the intruder didn't answer. And at that moment, he stood up. He was leaning over Shay. He stood up. And we saw the knife in his hand. And Kevin said, "Knife," and I saw the knife at the same time. And my husband grabbed both of the intruder's wrists and yanked him away from our daughter and spun him around and threw him on the adjacent bed in the room.
Unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
Was he a trained martial artist? Was he a fighter? Was he a Navy SEAL?
No.
Did he have any background for this?
No. My husband's 5'9", 160 pounds, but very strong, very agile. He did tree work, You know, he climbed trees and he does utility work. He climbs telephone poles. I mean, he's just very physically fit, and he's just very quick thinking and quick on his feet. And he was able to startle the intruder as much as he startled us, and threw him, you know, onto the adjacent bed and got on his back and pressed him down and held him on the bed for just a couple of minutes, not even a couple of minutes, about 60 seconds. And I grabbed the blade of the knife. I went to grab the handle of the knife, but it didn't do any good. So, because the blade was 15 inches long and it was waving around, and I was afraid that someone was going to get hurt, so I just grabbed the blade of the knife.
Wow. And you hurt yourself too, right?
I did. You know, Susan, I did, but I didn't even, at the time, I didn't even feel it. Honestly, didn't even feel it. You know, I think I was either in shock or just my adrenaline was so high that I just didn't even feel it. And so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and you were able to hold him. Who had called the police?
Shay called the police on her cell phone.
Okay,
and
good.
What we didn't know is when you call 911 from your cell phone, you're automatically transferred to the state police, connected to the state police. And so she called 911, and we were wrestling with the intruder on the bed. He got a burst of adrenaline and stood up with my husband on his back, and the knife slid through my hands. And Kevin was able to throw his arm around his neck and put him in a chokehold, and he used all his weight to throw himself backwards. And they landed on the floor between the bed and the closet. It was about a 2.5-foot width space, so they were jammed in there pretty tightly. And as I was saying, Shay called 911, and they said, hold on, and she thought that they were putting her on hold, but what they were actually doing was transferring her to the local Chelmsford Police Dispatch.
How long did it take before the police got there? My God.
It was about 4 minutes. It's pretty quick.
Okay.
It seemed like an eternity to us, but it was really pretty quick.
And they came and they took him, and I think what you found out about this man is even more incredible. Tell everyone what you found out about this guy.
Well, you know, that when we went to the police station the next day, we found out that he was a long-haul trucker from North Carolina, and that he had parked his truck in the rest stop, which is on 495, which runs behind our house. He'd been out prowling all night long. He had been spotted at 3 different locations that night before he came to our house. What we didn't find out until 3.5 weeks later was that he had actually murdered a woman 22 hours before he came to our house in Bloomsbury, New Jersey.
And what was his name?
His name is Adam Leroy Lane.
Adam Leroy Lane, right? And he was known as the Ninja Killer. Because of those black...
the media had dubbed him. The media had dubbed him Ninja Killer. They, you know, I don't know. I'd only heard that a couple places, but yeah, he was a long haul trucker, and you know, this particular job lends itself to being able to park in rest areas and come in and out of neighborhoods without being noticed.
And he had killed how many altogether? He'd killed a number of women.
Yeah, he killed another woman in Pennsylvania, and he left another woman for dead in Pennsylvania. That's what they know about so far. Yeah.
Has he been sentenced yet?
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. He was.
Please tell me he got at least life.
Yes, he got 25 to 30 years for our home invasion. He got, I think, 50 years for Monica Massaro's murder in New Jersey, and then he got life in prison for Darlene Ewald's murder in Pennsylvania, and then 25 to 30 years on top of that for his attempted murder on Patricia Brooks.
Excellent. So we will never see him again.
No, we will never see him again. No.
Now, I know that this caused quite a stir, I mean, in the press and whatnot, but I understand that it also caused a bit of a struggle for you. And talk about that a little bit.
Well, yeah, it definitely did, because we were so fortunate to survive this attack that, you know, we were the first ones to have him prosecuted, and it took a long time to get him through the system. Our case went to trial very quickly, but for New Jersey and for Pennsylvania, it took a really long time, and those murders happened before ours. And so I just, you know, I went on this journey with these families because I just felt like I needed to be there. You know, we survived, and they had loved ones that did not, and I just felt forever connected to them because of this.
Absolutely. And you've kind of launched a personal quest.
Yeah, I have, really. I so want to find out down the road. I mean, I know this guy didn't just start doing this, you know, July 2007. I mean, he's been doing this for a very long time, and I know that there are other families out there that would like closure of some sort, and you know, whether closure is even something that's even possible when you lose someone in such a horrific and heinous manner. I mean, we were seconds away from that happening to us.
How is Shay doing now?
Shay's great. You know, Shay, she amazes me every day. She doesn't allow what has happened in the past to affect her attitude towards life. She really doesn't, and she still sees the good in people. Because, you know, Susan, after this happened, the community and our friends and our family, they just circled around us. The support that we got from everyone was incredible, and it just really showed us that there's such good in the world, and you can't get bogged down by things like this. You have to try to pick up and move on. But for us, we can do that because it didn't end the way it ended for everyone else.
Absolutely. Now, and that's one of the messages that I try to bring on the show also, you know, that yes, there's some ugly and horrible things, but there's also a lot of good, and that's why I call it an optimistic perspective that I try to bring.
Yeah.
But I think it's wonderful that you're having solidarity with the other families, and I think that's going to be healing for them as well.
Yeah, I hope so. It's healing for me.
Any plans down the line for you and Kevin?
Nothing in the immediate future. No, not really, actually.
just relax and just try and take life as it comes, right?
Exactly. I mean, we're really when you go through something like this, it totally changes your perspective. At least it's changed mine. And I really don't sweat the small stuff anymore. And I really take a lot of joy in just being able to, take a walk on a beautiful day and be able to enjoy my surroundings. Because
absolutely,
at the same time, I think about those that can't do that. So, you know.
Well, you're heroes to me, and I'm sure to my audience. The book is called "Caught in the Act: A Courageous Family's Fight to Save Their Daughter from a Serial Killer," and you can find it on Amazon. Paul Leonardo was the author, and Jean, thanks so much. And I hope people will pick up that book and read through it and come up with the optimism that you have.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Very much.
All right, now up next. The fate of many, many defendants is decided based on eyewitness testimony. But how reliable is this testimony? So when we come back, we're going to discuss this, and you're going to find out about that gorilla in the room that almost 50 people never saw.
Talk. That's all we do is talk.
Yeah!
If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. That's it. VoiceAmerica.com. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.crimeprevention101.com for more information.
If you think you've seen online TV before, let us surprise you.
VoiceAmerica.tv is online now.
The leader in live internet talk radio has done it again. Multiple channels, a state-of-the-art viewing experience, live and on-demand programs streaming 24 hours a day. It's exactly what you want, when you want it.
VoiceAmerica.tv.
From health and wellness to business, sports, and everything in between. Discover our new world. Visit VoiceAmerica.tv now and experience the future of online television.
VoiceAmerica.tv.
You're walking alone. A group of people is hanging out just ahead. Suddenly, they surround you.
Hey, yo, where you going? Come here.
Before you know it, you're being robbed. It's called a pack robbery, a robbery involving a group of assailants, and it can be violent. In times like these, trust your instincts. Don't become their next victim. Avoid suspicious groups. Avoid desolate or poorly lighted areas. Be aware of your surroundings. To learn more about pack robberies, visit ncpc.org or contact your local law enforcement agency.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
Stimulating talk.
It gets those synapses in your brain firing really fast.
All the time. The #1 internet talk station where your opinion counts. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
Yes, this is Crime Prevention 101. I'm Susan Bartelstone. We're coming to you live. If you want to talk to us, 866-472-5788. And don't forget that Crime Prevention 101 is available on iTunes. You can take us with you wherever you go. Now, let's meet eyewitness testimony expert, Jennifer Dysart. She is an associate professor of psychology at the prestigious John Jay College of Criminal Justice in my very own New York City. And she conducts research on such issues as how specific procedures can lead to an increased rate of false identification of innocent suspects and what safeguards can be used to reduce identification errors. Well, welcome, Jennifer.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, I had the pleasure of hearing you speak at a meeting of our wonderful SPI, it's called Society for Professional Investigators, and boy, that was pretty much of an eye-opener for me, I have to tell you. You know, I almost served on a jury, murder trial last year in Queens, and since then I've been fascinated about, you know, the workings of the legal system, how defendants get convicted or acquitted, and many cases involve eyewitness testimony. So,
yes.
How reliable is such testimony?
That's a great question. Eyewitness evidence can be extremely reliable under certain circumstances, but unfortunately we've learned from the many DNA exoneration cases in the United States where someone was convicted of a crime, and then later when DNA was tested in that crime, they found out that the person who was convicted was in fact innocent. It was not the actual perpetrator. So in those cases now in the United States, of which there are over 250, 80% of those cases had at least one eyewitness who was mistaken and wrongfully. Yeah.
Did you say that 80%?
I did. 80% of the known wrongful convictions from DNA had at least one eyewitness who made a mistake and chose an innocent person from the procedure. Yeah.
Well, what are the factors that can cause such a thing?
Sure.
I know that.
Yeah, there are two kind of general groups of things that researchers have identified as contributing to this huge problem in the wrongful convictions. And the first are all about the procedures that the police use. And we know that there are procedures that police can use, that can actually increase accuracy and increase the reliability. But unfortunately, most police departments across the United States do not use the techniques that are and have been shown to be the most reliable identification techniques. The good news is that there is a lot of legislative reform that's happening across the country, and in those reforms, the best procedures are being recommended for police departments to use.
Give me an idea of an example of what a good procedure might be, or a recommended procedure.
Sure. The nice thing is that this is all based really in kind of scientific evidence, and so research over decades has really supported the use of these procedures. And the one that is universally recommended is that something called double-blind administration. And that is the person who is administering the either photo lineup or the lineup to the witness or the victim in the case should not know who the suspect is in that procedure. And the reason for that is so that the administrator is not able to influence the witness or the victim in any way or provide any suggestion as to who the suspect is in the identification procedure.
Ah, okay. And that makes sense.
Very similar to pharmaceutical research, for example, that's often tested in a double-blind manner, so we know that there's no influence on the ultimate results. And another suggested procedure that is used in and presented in many of the reforms is something called a sequential lineup, and that is when the lineup members, either in photograph or live, are presented one at a time, as opposed to the typical, what we think of kind of the six-pack, or all the individuals being presented at the same time. And our research shows and studies show that showing people one at a time actually improves eyewitness reliability and accuracy.
So all those TV shows, we watch them file in and stand. We don't do that anymore.
Well, unfortunately, many police departments do still use that technique, but the recommended procedure, and actually the law of the land in several states now in the United States, recommends that the use of one person at a time. And I did see recently on an episode of Law and Order that they did show the people one at a time. So it is catching on, it seems, in the popular media as well.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Now, this would be state by state, though, right? Each state has to mandate it in order to have that.
And the nice thing as well is that certain police departments around the country have also decided that they want to adopt these best policies and best practices. For example, Dallas, Texas chose on their own to use these best policies and practices, as are other police departments and jurisdictions around the country.
Oh, good. Well, terrific. I'm glad to hear that the word is getting out.
Yes.
And I remember a couple of different exercises you showed us in the slides, and when you would stick a defendant's picture next to another defendant, if the person was Hispanic, but the pictures around him were African American, people tended to identify him as African American. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you put him next to lighter skinned pictures, we identified him differently.
Yes. Yes, it's true that the topic of looking at people's skin tone or a whole host of various things in perception, that the surroundings and the environment can influence the way in which we perceive something. And so if we see a darker skinned individual amongst lighter skinned individuals, it could affect the way in which an eyewitness describes that person's skin tone to police or investigators in the case.
It was really scary. Now,
well, I'm glad it was eye-opening for, I think, it
was eye-opening. But the most eye-opening thing in terms of eyewitness reliability was a little video that you showed us about the basketball players. So please describe that.
Sure, and I've actually provided a link, and so I think your listeners will have an opportunity to go and try it for themselves if they like. But in essence, what the demonstration is all about attention and how individuals, when they're focused really intently on one particular thing, that they can miss really, really big, important, obvious things in their environment. And so the video, essentially, we ask people to focus on people who have white T-shirts on in a scene, and they're passing basketball. There are also individuals with black T-shirts, and so you're supposed to ignore people with the black shirts and only focus on those with the white shirts, and count how many passes that they make of the basketball. While people are watching this whole scene, a man in a gorilla suit walks through the center of the scene, stops in the center, pounds his chest, and continues to walk out the other side. And it might seem obvious to your listeners that individuals would, of course, see the gorilla. He walks right through the scene. But in fact, a large percentage of people do not even see this gorilla who walks right through.
Jennifer, and let me just reinforce this, because the room that we were in had at least 50 police officers, private investigators, military experts, all highly trained people.
Yes.
And including myself, of course, right? And this gorilla saunters in, the man in the gorilla suit saunters in, stands in the middle where they're passing the basketball right around him, waves at the cameras, saunters off. I mean, it's not a quick appearance. No. He's right in the middle of the action, and most of us did not see it. And we were shocked. One guy said that he saw that gorilla, and we said, "What gorilla? What are you talking about?" We were counting those basketball passes.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, that video has been used, I'm going to estimate millions of times now in demonstrations in psychology. And when I use that video, when I'm lecturing to judges, police officers, defense attorneys, prosecutors, to, let them see how an eyewitness who is focused on one particular thing, for example, a gun or some other weapon that's used in the commission of a crime, how they might miss other important details of the event. And all of those groups, judges, etc., are just as susceptible as investigators and the general public to missing the gorilla.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. And what scared me is because these were such trained people.
Yeah.
And what about just plain civilians, who don't have that kind of training? It's just the whole thing about eyewitness testimony really you look at it in a bit of a different light that when you do that exercise, I think.
I think it does. It does change the way that you might perceive eyewitnesses and their reliability.
Got to be very careful. And there was one other thing that I wanted to ask you about that you mentioned at the meeting, too. You are also an expert on false confessions. And why the heck would somebody confess to something they didn't do?
Well, I don't know if I would characterize myself as an expert, but I am familiar with research, and there are a number of factors that are associated with false confessions. But the number one factor is the time of the interrogation. The longer the interrogation goes on, the more likely it is that someone will come to falsely confess to something that they didn't do. And when we look to, for example, the DNA exoneration cases, of which about 25% of them had a false confession included as evidence, and again, these are people who we know are innocent. Now we know that they're innocent, but they gave a false confession. When we look at the amount of time that they were interrogated, some of the interrogations lasted 12, 14 hours, continuous
hours. On purpose, right?
Oh, yes.
On purpose, then.
Yes, absolutely. But individuals falsely confess for a number of reasons, one of which, unfortunately, is that they may actually come to believe through this constant barrage of accusation and the presentation of false evidence. So, for example, a police officer is allowed to say to someone, well, we have an eyewitness who puts you there, or we have your fingerprints at the scene of the crime, or we did a DNA test and it shows that you were there. They're allowed to present that false evidence to suspects in cases. And after hours and hours and hours of being presented with these accusations, someone may actually come to believe that maybe they did do it. Maybe they had a blackout. Maybe they don't remember. And so they come to believe that they may actually have committed the crime. But it's more common that people essentially want to get out of that negative situation and ultimately come to say, okay, I did it, let me sign that, and I'll be able to explain it to someone tomorrow what the situation was, and they'll understand.
Interesting.
They'll know I'm innocent when they look at the evidence.
But that's the end of the line, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're running out of time. I have a lot of police officers in my audience. If someone would like to get a hold of you or get a hold of some of this research,
yes,
how can they do that?
Sure, they can send me an email, or probably even better to give me a call at my office. Would you like me to give the number?
If you like, and I'm also going to link to you on my blog, crimeprevention101.com, but you can give it if you want.
Sure. It's 212-484-1160. And that's my office number at John Jay College.
John Jay College. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It was a pleasure. A fascinating topic.
Thank you very much.
All right, everyone, stay right where you are. When we come back, I've got a great personal safety product to tell you about. Could be a real lifesaver.
Talk. That's all we do is talk. If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. That's it. VoiceAmerica.com.
Hi, this is Susan Bartelstone, host of Crime Prevention 101, and I want to tell you about My Mobile Witness, a revolutionary service that transforms your camera phone into a personal safety device. My Mobile Witness believes safety is improved when you remove anonymity from dangerous scenarios. If you're in a stalking situation, for example, if you have an order of protection against someone, or if your profession places you in situations that are potentially dangerous, I want you to check out My Mobile Witness. And you parents of college students, ask the school to check out the My Mobile Witness University program with custom-tailored options aimed at keeping both students and faculty safe. Every campus could benefit from the My Mobile Witness University service. For more information, go to mymobilewitness.com.
Every day, people are afraid to report violent crimes. In times like these, choosing to report a crime or helping the police can be a difficult decision. A no-snitching culture has sprung up in our communities, making it unpopular and sometimes even dangerous to report a crime. Do the right thing by calling 911 or your local crime tip line. If you're the victim of a crime, report it. If you know about a crime, report it. To learn more about how to do the right thing, visit ncpc.org or contact your local law enforcement agency.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.crimeprevention101.com for more information. The Internet's number one talk station. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
Hello again. This is Susan Bartelstone. This is Crime Prevention 101. Don't forget, if you want more information about show topics, I'm going to post the links to all my wonderful guests on my blog, crimeprevention101.com, so you don't have to search around for anything. Now, I want to talk about this great personal safety product I found out about, and it's not just for crime prevention. So I want you to meet Deb Nelson, who's going to talk about the storm whistle. Hi, Deb.
Hi, how are you?
Now, I've had a number of whistles on the show, talked about them. What's so special about the storm whistle?
Well, the storm whistle is done with harmonics, which is why it's not just loud, but it is something that can be heard above just about any competing noise. So it's not really just about how many decibels it puts out, although it does put out a lot of decibels. It's the type of frequency that it produces, actually, that makes it so easy to be heard.
I
so
think
that's
on your website you say 50. It can be heard from 50 feet away.
50 feet away underwater.
Underwater.
Yeah, it works underwater, which many whistles do not. But if you are underwater and I am underwater and I blow this whistle, you're going to hear it 50 feet away.
Amazing.
On land, it can be heard a half a mile away.
That's truly extraordinary, and yet it doesn't hurt your own ears.
Well, I suppose under extended use, it probably wouldn't do you a lot of good, but it can be heard even over an F-16 jet engine.
Fabulous. Now, there was 2 great stories on the website of how it was used for personal safety. Just quickly talk about that.
Well, I'll tell you, my favorite one is from New Orleans. There was a person who owned a storm whistle, and she lived in a second-story apartment, and she could see that in the street below her, a couple was being robbed and mugged and beaten. And she stood right in her own apartment with the windows and doors closed and blew this whistle. And it was so loud that it sort of disoriented the attackers because they could not really tell where it was coming from, and they couldn't see anybody in the street who would be blowing the whistle, that they actually ran away. And people were able to come to the aid of the people who were being robbed. And that was so amazing to everyone in New Orleans that they actually started a campaign called Through the Door, where they handed out these whistles and they said, listen, if something's going on, you blow this whistle through the door. And the knowledge that something's going on will be made known. That will happen because people will hear this whistle and they'll know to do something. Someone will come to your aid if they hear this whistle.
Absolutely.
So they started that campaign in New Orleans.
I love the idea of neighborhood watches. I think this would be a terrific device because you don't even have to be out in the street. I like that idea.
Right.
And by the way, one of the best self-defense techniques, if you're actually being attacked, you're up close and personal, any loud noise blown directly into somebody's ear will break their eardrum, and that is going to knock them out. So,
right, and one of the unique features of this particular whistle is, as opposed to, think a coach's whistle where you have to hold it between your thumb and your finger, this is so large you have to hold it in the shape of a fist. And when you hold it in your fist, you can still blow it because of the way that it is shaped. So
Terrific.
You could make a fist and be in a defensive position and still be able to blow this whistle as opposed to holding it like you're holding a cup of tea, like a regular whistle.
Now, how much does the whistle cost?
Well, we will be selling them for around $6. Although I'm not exactly sure why my website says higher than that. So we're instituting a promo code, especially for your listeners. That will be a special price of $6, and I think the website actually says $9. We have seen them in dive shops for as much as $20.
And give out the website so people will know where to go.
It's Allen Promo. That's ALLEN. AllenPromo.net. N-E-T.
All right, AllenPromo.net. Special $6 price for Crime Prevention 101 listeners. We thank
your promo
so
code
much.
is CP101.
All right. Well, Deb, thank you so much. And you know what? This is a wrap for now. But please don't forget, I love to hear from you. Please keep emailing me. Keep sending me story ideas. I will try and get to them. I've gotten so many great suggestions. You can post your comments on my blog, crimeprevention101.com. Tell your friends about us. The audience is just growing and growing and growing. And you and I will be doing this again next week, same time, same place. It'll be a crime not to listen. So stay tuned and stay safe.
We hope you got some useful information and inspiration this week on Crime Prevention 101. Susan Bartelstone invites you to join us again next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on Voice America. If you want to learn more about Susan's guests, sign up for her newsletter, or find out about upcoming teleseminars and workshops, go to www.crimeprevention101.com today. Have a great week and a safe week.